Hello and welcome to the Quantum Human Revelations for December. It's been a month since I saw you all last, so I hope you're all doing well. Let me just get the comments up on Zoom so we can see what's going on there. And today we're going to be talking about the Gemini full moon energy and the energy for December that I'm feeling and sensing into. But before we get started, last month we spoke a lot about energy attacks. So has anybody got anything to share regarding the energy attacks they may have experienced last month? So I've got some people on Zoom and I've got the people joining me live on YouTube while we're waiting for people to catch up. So yeah, we've had all sorts. Yeah, I've had quite a lot as well. I thought I might just start with that first before I do the energy reading. And right now I'm having that same issue as last time. That keeps popping up differently. I've had quite a lot as well. I thought I might just... Oh, that was mean. Okay, now I've got my chat up. So for me, I ended up having to do some pretty big work. What came up as the energy attacks for me. So for me, it's a bit different. Part of my vision and part of my mission on this planet is to do energy grid work and to help the energies of the planet support the ascension energies that are coming in. So whilst I also work one-to-one with people, I also do this kind of behind the scenes global type clearing and energy balancing that allows us to embody more of the energies that are coming in now so that we can grow and transform. And some of these things are quite big, but most of my work tends to be more about dismantling the lies, the distruths, and the entrapments and manipulation. I don't know how I was so lucky to get that job when I did the lucky dip, but that seems to be the work I do. So I often find that I get embroiled in situations or energetic attacks that are partly to do with me, but mostly to do with the fact that I'm trying to undo something. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So over the last, since I saw you last, I've been working on quite a lot of energy harvesting groups that I've been dismantling. And that kind of work is, I can't like force it out to all of you because it's free will. So when I do this kind of work, I can only call on those that are ready to receive that kind of healing. And the souls that are will step up and receive it, and the ones that aren't will not. And then I tend to put up like a signpost to say, warning, there's energy harvesting going on in this realm. And then anybody new that comes in at least gets a warning and then gets to choose if they want to continue working in that realm or whether they wish to break away and find a different path. So when I do this kind of work, it's voluntary for everybody. But right now, for any of you listening now, if you wish to be part of what I've done, and I've done 2 clearings. One was to do with our self-expression being strangled, and the other one was to do with having our creative energy sucked from us, literally like removed from us and used for other purposes, basically. And both of those attacks were aimed at keeping humanity small. Now we know there's no such thing as a kind of attack where it's involuntary. We've somehow contracted into this on some level, either because we were frightened of our power and we wanted us to be able to step away from our power so that we could allow us to play small because we were frightened of what happened with our power last time. Whatever the reasons, then we sometimes accidentally contract ourselves into these manipulations without realizing it. So if you remember last month, we spoke about Orion and how that was a form of manipulation energy. So that's what I've been kind of working on since I saw you last, is how can I actually take that energy, neutralize it, put up a sign so other people can benefit. So if you just take a deep breath now and breathe into your body and just find that kind of center, take your energy right down into your center. And I just invite you now to, because time is not linear. So whether I did it 2 weeks ago, 1 year ago, whatever time I did it, you can just imagine that you were there now. Just imagine that you can go into your heart and just ask your heart to take you to exactly the point in time where I did the first healing, where I called up all the souls that wanted to break all the contracts they made, giving others permission to use their creative life force energy, their sexual energy. And you can just intend now to receive that healing and take a deep breath and just breathe that into your being and imagining all the cords just dissolving and breaking away. And then bring your attention back up, and we're going to talk about the second healing that I did, which was where we were being strangled. So it was like a chain around our necks, preventing us from expressing our creative energy. Because it's one thing having creative energy, it's another thing taking that energy and activating it into action, to express it through our voice, to express it through creation, actual physical birthing into the 3D. And that bit was being blocked on the throat. So again, if you wish to be part of that healing where that rope was taken away from around your neck, just take a deep breath and close your eyes and just sink into that feeling, and just intend that you go to the time that I did that healing and ask for that to be implemented in you as well, for you to receive that energy. So let me know how those felt, because these are just two ways that I was freeing up everybody's creative life force energy over the last month. And as I said, your soul has probably already received this, but I just thought I'd do that as the opening for today, just to kind of finish off that energy of November and the energy attacks that we had. So how are we all doing? I'm afraid it seems like we've still got a few more battles to overcome before we move into the new year. Although technically, as time's not linear and the calendar is a man-made calendar, who knows what the new year really is. But moving into 2024, into the January time when we're all starting to think about what we want to create in 2024, then how has it been feeling for you now as you're approaching this time? We're kind of getting into a zone of starting to think about setting new goals, setting new visions. Are you feeling like the energy is moving? I kind of feel there is hope, but I also feel there's other layer of fear that keeps coming up at the moment. So the energy attacks were just one layer of fear, and now there's this other layer of fear coming through. And we know that when we go through big phases of change, that's when we're more likely to get attacked, when we're more likely to feel at our worst, because it's that dark night of the soul. It's the lowest point we go before we then come up again. So we got pause and rest before leaping into the new year. Up and down yesterday and this morning, but feel hopeful now. Yeah, the energy definitely is this kind of like up, down. You'll get something really good happen and then followed by something really horrible, and like extreme opposites. And that kind of fits into the energy we wanted to talk about today. So welcome, anybody who's joined us now, and you've just joined us for the Quantum Human Revelations for the December energy reading. So if you've just joined now, then you might want to go back and just catch the first bit. I invited you to join a healing that I did a few weeks ago to help release creative life force energy. So let's get into the energy now for December. So we've just had a Gemini full moon, and Gemini is about communication. It's about the voice. It's about expression and soul expression in the work I do. It's about your ability to express your aspirations. But the other part of it that's really interesting is it's about your ability to take two polarized views and synthesize them together into a coherent whole. So it's kind of like seeing the beauty of the two opposites, the dark, the light, whatever the extremes are, and then pulling them together into a new bit of information. So this isn't just about reframing or rebalancing. The synthesized process that I sense feels very much about creating something new from it. It's kind of like the reforging that I've been talking about in most of my meditations. But again, it seems at a slightly higher frequency than even reforging. So now, as you kind of start thinking about this month, then if you have had those extremes of something really good and something really bad, then just start thinking about how can those two things fit together in a new way. Because what we're being asked for this month is to deal with our fears. We want to know, are you driving, like imagine that you're in a car getting ready to drive into 2024. Are you sitting there at the steering wheel? Who's your co-pilot? Is fear sitting there next to you? In which case fear is going to take you on the safe journey into life. Or have you got a vision, a very really vivid vision of what you want to do? And is that adventurer, that King Arthur that we've spoken about, archetype sitting next to you going, yay, here we go, let's go for this adventure. Wherever life throws at us, we're going to take it and make lemonade, you know, it's that kind of approach. So who's in the core seat with you now? Who's the co-pilot? Just visualize that car and see who's sitting next to you. Is it fear or is it the vision? And you might find maybe it's both. Yeah. so it's both. Yeah. That's how it feels right now. It's like they're you know, when they shout, what do they say when they want to drive in the front seat? They shout out something, and then it seems like the fear and the vision are kind of fighting and jostling for that front seat to who's going to be in charge. So that's funny. Cool. Anybody else? Anybody else noticed? So on YouTube, I have got the chat on, but if anybody's talking, I'm not seeing anything at the moment, just let you know. So the question is, and this is one of the shotgun, that's it. Yeah, they call shotgun. I think it's more of an American term. That's why I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, they call shotgun. So yeah, who's the one sitting in that seat wanting to take us forward? So the interesting thing is often when I teach about pain pushes until vision pulls. And I don't know if everybody understands that. If anybody does and wants to give their translation, then type it into the chat. But we're talking about things that motivate you to do something. Is it pain and fear, or is it your vision? And it might seem like, well, does it really matter? But it really does matter a lot as to what is pushing, because it's the energy that you're working with. So when you're working with pain, it's kind of things like whatever happened to you in the past that was painful is making you do things today. As opposed to you have an amazing, beautiful vision for the future, and it's the want to create that that's kind of pulling you forward into it. Can you guys feel the difference with that? And that's really the theme for this month, is can you switch from that pain pushing into this vision pulling? Just wait to see if anybody's chatting on Zoom. Okay, so Jenny's just given her description. So when the universe pushes you to do one thing through making you uncomfortable, whereas a vision is more voluntary, not needing the pain. Exactly. That's what it means. Cool. Yeah, it's good to have other people's words, because we're talking about Gemini, and part of the Gemini is learning different ways of saying the same thing through community, through sharing, through voice. So that's perfect. So if we know then that we've got this fear, and it's kind of sitting in that seat with us, and it's kind of battling for control right now, then we have to find a way to deal with the fear. And the first thing we need to do is to think about, how do you handle fear? Do you allow fear to put you into fighting and attacking and defensive, or do you go into fleeing or avoiding or hiding? And we did actually have another one, because we did the topic in my group, which is kind of like our mastermind that we did before with the advanced group, and they were saying that those two didn't resonate, but what actually did resonate was intellectualizing. And I think a lot of us do this. We intellectualize fear because we can, but it doesn't actually deal with the fear. It just helps us process it in our minds, but our body still feels it. So that's the embodied kind of issue, that we have to clear the energy out of the body as well. So the key is with the fear is that the fear and the worry is actually now stopping you becoming. That's why it's the challenge this month, is how are you overcoming your fear so that you can become who you're meant to be? So what's your biggest dream for yourself for 2024? What is it that you want to achieve? And then what fear is holding you back from doing that? And then we ask, well, what is the fear based on? Is it based on outdated experiences? Because what happened to you 10 years ago happened to you as you were 10 years ago, whereas now you've had 10 years more experience. And maybe that same situation wouldn't be as scary as it was back then, because you have new tools, new abilities, new frequencies, new understandings, new knowledge. Because, you know, every day we're growing into something new. So how you dealt with your issues yesterday is not going to be how you deal with them tomorrow. You're going to be a different person. So again, in the Zoom, we're getting fears based on past past experiences. And the past has this ability to hold us in a grip. You know, when fear gets onto us, it really is a demotivating, it kind of grasps you in this anxiety hold, and it can be difficult to shift. It isn't impossible once you understand it. So if this is related to old past related experiences, or even what we might call karmic, where we feel like we can't because something bad karma will come our way, anything like that is what's partly holding that fear in place. So if we can remove and say, you know, we did a couple of weeks ago, we did that timeline jumping exercise. So if we could remove all those past experiences that were giving you the reason to have fear, and instead clear that away, then you've got a clearer kind of starting point now to move forward into 2024. So again, you can imagine, because part of this month's energy as well is about stepping into the leader of your life. So if you believe we can be the leader of your life, which we can, we all can, we can choose our experiences, we can choose, well, we can't always choose our experiences, but we could definitely choose how we handle them. We can also choose how we pave our path. We can choose whether we pave our path with ease, with grace, with simplicity, or whether we make things complicated for ourselves. And I'm not talking about the kind of critical thinking, again, which is a Gemini energy, being able to analyze, deep analyze things. I'm talking more about how we process each situation. So one of the fears we've got is I can see and taste dreams, and the fear of is my old self will kick back in. I don't think we can ever go back to the old version. You know, we can go back to old habits, but energetically, when we've shifted our energy, we can't go back to the old version of us. And often what we find is when we have shifted, that we can't fit back into the old version of us, even if we wanted to. It's like we've gone too big. It's like trying to put old clothes on that don't fit anymore. So that kind of fear is not trusting, really. And it's about getting more into that trusting. Yeah, have to close all the doors. But it's also trusting yourself that you now have more tools, that if you did leave the door open to go to the past, you could clear it and you could handle it and see it all differently. Yeah, so there's a couple of people saying, worrying that they'll fall back into old habits and falling back into themselves on Zoom. So yeah, that's an interesting fear to have if that's the one that's holding us back. Because, you know, there's a lot of cultural, like we've been talking about karma and time over the last couple of sessions that we've done, but there's a lot of cultural kind of understanding of karmic debt and karmic repayment and paying back. You know, you did bad in the last life and I'm going to do bad in this life, or I'm going to steal from you, you're going to steal from me. And all of these kind of karmic things are almost like a trick to make us fall into this fear cycle so that we never get out of it again. And we know that past that karmic cycle thing, it doesn't have to exist anymore. We're now moving into new ways of thinking about life. So we don't have to follow that as the way to deal with this. We can actually now say, you know what? I understand that I was good, I was bad in the past. I've done good things and positive things for the world, but I'm not going to judge it. Again, coming to that Gemini polarity. What is good? What is bad? There's a bit of good in bad, a bit of bad in good. You know, sometimes you have to do something bad to get something good. All of those kind of arguments, you know, and if you could start seeing things like that and those polarizing views and synthesizing them into a better story, then you'll find that it's easier for you to process the past and process what you've been through. Yeah, so trust is what you need. Cool. I'm just checking, everybody's a bit quiet on YouTube there. Yeah, I've got the right settings, good. So once we understand that fear, and we understand who's in the driving seat, and we understand how we process fear by running away, by fleeing, by avoiding, by intellectualizing, we now have a lot of information that we can start saying, okay, so how am I going to be different? So the next Gemini lesson is about using your words as a wand to start rewriting your lessons. So for those that are saying they're frightened of falling into their old version, maybe you want to write a new lesson now based off of that. Maybe write new words to replace that story and decide on a different story for yourself instead. and find a more empowering way. Yeah, Charles. Hello, Charles. Nice to see you. I'm glad you noticed I was here. Last month's energy is like a dream. I feel, but I can't remember. Yeah. I think I blinked and I jumped from August to December. Don't ask what happened in between. Okay, so Marta, you've written something, but I'm not quite sure what I'm reading there. Sometimes what you say requires softness, and sometimes they don't feel they can let themselves be soft. Give me a bit more. Is that what you're going to write as your new words? Or is that a bit of advice? So as we're tuning into this new story you want to tell yourself now about your fears or about what 2024 is, because 2023 has been pretty tough. I don't think anybody's got away with 2023 easily. So what would you know? Let's rewrite 2023 as an adventure, as something that, like a superhero movie. Like we all go see superhero movies, yeah, and they all have a terrible time of it. Everything goes wrong. You know, it's like, why did they walk into that door? Why did they stay that, like, to have a conversation or a kiss when they should be getting out of there and the aliens recapture them or something? You know, we all watch those movies and we can kind of enjoy them to a certain degree. Then how can we turn this last 2023 drama and the pain and the fear that we've been through, turn it into something, again, synthesize it into something a little bit more positive? So Marta's saying seeing good in the bad and bad in the good requires approaching life with softness. Yeah, and approaching life, well, often when we have a bad time, we tend to want to approach it as a harsh way and being hard and harsh. Yeah, I think we talked about, what do we call it? Courageous Fearless was one of the episodes we did on this. Good, like back in the summer, I think. And that was the same. It was a soft courage, a soft approach to things. And definitely softness is going to be what we need. And Emma's saying, I dream about life and freedom, but I think the need for control stops me. But I like the control, as it feels like chaos without. That's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? Because life really is chaos. And part of what I try to teach as well is how to walk boldly in the chaos and to find comfort in the chaos, which is kind of what we're doing. You know, we're trying to thrive in fear. These are all synthesized ideas, you know. We don't try and remove fear. We don't try and push it down and hope it goes away. We work with it. Fear is a really powerful energy. And if used in the right way, it can really push us forward in ways we want to boost our lives. And it's the same with chaos. Chaos can create change, and change creates the things that we need in our life. But if you want to be in control, then we can't control everything around us. So then you're going to be stuck in this cycle of being in control or being in chaos. And that's going to become your life narrative if we leave those in place. So Jenny's saying last year was an adventure, learning about nervous system, body and healing and playing with my inner child. Yeah, obviously the drama underneath was there, but that's a nicer way to put it. An adventure of learning about my nervous system, body, healing and playing with my inner child. And learning about power, trust, and clearing blocks. Yeah. So, you know, use your words as your wands to start rewriting your stories of what we've been through this year. And that in itself is on a new story for 2024, because we could let 2024 just unfold, but we could give it nice energy to go into it by clearing out those stories that we've already told ourselves about 2023. So if we can use our words as our wands to clear that and start creating new stories, that's the start, getting us ready now in this next December period, ready for the new year and what we want to bring through for that. So the thing with fear is that fear will drive you into, remember the car scenario, into a life of safety. So if you're fear of letting go, if you're fearful of chaos, then you're driving into a life that is going to avoid chaos. So maybe chaos is exactly what you need sometimes. And what it does ultimately is it takes you away from living. You can't be running away from your fears at the same time as living. So we really want to kind of start looking at, where am I doing things because I'm running away from my fears versus I'm living life. I'm jumping into the chaos, I'm jumping into unknown territory, and I'm embracing it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do all this alone. It's not easy, for sure. We can always, as a group, come together and find like-minded people to support you. But just to be aware that we can already start changing our energy, and rewriting those stories will put us in a better position now to move forward into the new year. So one of the things I talked about synthesizing is the energy of Saturn and Jupiter. And just to give you like the opposites, these are polar opposites. The Gemini will be able to. The Gemini mind's very, it's a great one for quantum humans, actually, to develop your Gemini mind. It's your communication, your self-expression of your aspirations, but it's also your ability to analyze and to break things down and put them together in new ways. So Jupiter's energy as an archetype is about opportunity, pathways, divine blessings, wisdom, grace, luminosity. And then we've got Saturn, who is kind of like the shadows and the karma and the tough love, which sounds bad, but that turns into patience, persistence, and discipline. And that helps lead us into better self-beliefs, which, when you combine those traits with opportunity, divine blessing, you actually have the perfect combination to help motivate you into life and to get yourself going. So whenever we think of things like, well, let's avoid fear, or let's avoid Saturn, or let's avoid karma, if we can change our viewpoint on those things into finding it as a way for us to discover more about who we are and what we can do, then we do find it is a more empowering experience. So going back to being the leader of your life, how are you going to pave your life now in December, getting ready for 2024? And I think, as quantum humans, what I'm hoping is the people that watch this are disruptors. They're people who want to make changes. And I know the path for those sort of people is not an easy path. If you've had a hard path, it's probably because you're here to do something amazing and to create change. You might not see it as amazing, but it could be as simple as being a good parent, bringing children up in a certain way that has never been done before. It can be through corporations, like when you go into a big company and bring in new ideas. It can be setting up your own business. It could be simply bringing new energies onto the planet and becoming an energy alchemist. It doesn't matter. You're here to do something big. And often we're not brave enough to step into that big version of us without pain. So I want us all to affirm now, if we can, that we're all going to be willing to step into the new version of us as an adventure. We're going to affirm that we're willing to take a step without knowing where we're going. To affirm that we're willing to do something without knowing why or what, but just because it feels like it lights us up. That we're willing to go into chaos to see what's there, because it's a bit fun, just like watching a scary movie, We're just going to pop in, have a look, see what chaos is doing, and then be willing to change, to be constantly changing. Because again, the energy last month was the Phoenix, to really tune into the fact that we are constantly going through these rebirth cycles so fast right now. We're losing who we are. It's causing confusion. We find it hard. We're never on a stable ground before we're going through the next iteration. And to celebrate that everything you've done last year was another stepping stone, another award in your book of awards of everything you've achieved in your life, good and bad, lessons, challenges, and successes, failures. We don't succeed without failure. All of these things coming together are now giving you another level to take into 2024. So in a way, when we come to set our intentions for 2024, I'd say your intention is to start it as an adventurer and to recognize everything you've achieved so far. So rather than kind of trying to define exactly what New Year's going to be, just have that moment. I think I described in my membership, like imagine you're up on stage and you've been acting this last year. And you're standing there and you're given, was it an Emmy? Is it Emmy a British one, or is that an American one? But you're given the Golden Globe, you're given them a statue to say, well done, your performance last year, how you managed those ups and downs and the challenges and how you got all the way through was amazing. You did it so well, we're giving you an award, just like an actor would get an award for getting through things. And just see it that way and start tapping into that energy as best you can. I know there's still a lot of fear coming up, we still have to process that. But allowing ourselves now to step into the ability to change our energy and change our views and reforge and synthesize those are kind of the main points that we need to cover to get us through so that we can thrive in the shadow of fear. Ready for adventure because I want to have fun. Well, I'm not sure the adventures might be fun quite yet, but I'd like for them to be fun. Adventure, trust, claim, blocks, yes. So hopefully that gives you an idea. Let me just see if I've missed, so time goes so quick. I had quite a bit more I wanted to share, but if we can tap into the synthesis of this fear and what our karmic lessons and things were and bring them into something more positive, that's the main way to handle thriving in fear. And really start moving out of fear pushing into vision pulling. Oh, and there was one other thing. So when I spoke about earlier about releasing all that creative life force energy, I'm going to be putting out a call to action to, like, you remember we spoke about spiritual bypassing, we spoke about copying and things like this. Our life force energy is really, really important. And yet it's probably the least protected energy that we have. If we put something out on Facebook and somebody copies it, we're told to take it as inspiration, how, you know, to be glad that somebody saw our stuff and thought it was inspiring. But I think that's just an excuse. I think that's just a really weak attack in a form, because if you've downloaded something and it's come through you as your essence and it's your interpretation of something, then what that's actually doing is somebody, when they take that idea and try to use it for themselves, they're trying to copy it. Now, one, it wasn't theirs to download, so it's not going to work for them so well, but that doesn't matter. It still it should be honored and it should be respected, because each of us has a way of expressing, even if the topic is the same, expressing our topics. And we need to honor that more. We really need to be able to be defenders, to be guardians of this creative life force that is Earth and what we are all, as humans, are able to do. And you can see that really stepping up even more at the moment because of the creative AI kind of influx. You know, the actors have been on strike because of AI. And as AI comes online more and more and more, it's going to attack our creative life force energy, make us feel not as adequate because it's going to seem to do the job better. I'm telling you, it can't. You know, that's where this whole conversation started, was back in, the first episode was about our creative path and how AI is soulless. It hasn't got the energy behind it. So even if the words sound good, it's empty. Whereas we could probably say it worse, but with much more intention and energy. And if we can believe that, then we can really then start valuing our creative life force energy and why it's so important. So that's it for today. I'm sure there's a few more points to cover, but yeah, I think I've got the main ones. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what to do. So summary, we're going to look at why we have fear and what the fear is and how we can move the fear out of the co-pilot seat in our car and put vision in instead. We're going to synthesize things. So we're going to look at the polar opposites of things and try and build a new story using Gemini, when I'm words as I want, to put together new stories and prepare for 2024 that way. We're going to try and step more into our leadership role and decide how our path is going to be paved. And this isn't like by knowing and putting solid blocks on it. We just want to be able to say, walk a hard path with grace. If we can walk this hard path with grace, then we're already winning, if that makes sense. And then we're going to look at how we can bring the tools of Saturn and the tools of Jupiter together, so that opportunity, pathways, divine blessings, wisdoms, and luminosity with Saturn's karma and shadows, which gives us that tough love, patience, persistence, and discipline. And then just by pulling those energies and frequencies together, you'll find you're in a much better position to leap into 2024. Now, if you do want to do some more of this work with me, I have got a workshop on the 17th at 3 p.m. British GMT, and that's for a dancing with energy. So it's kind of like an energy alchemist class. We do some visioning work, we do the writing to get the stories, and then we embody them through movement and through visualization. And putting those two together is really a powerful combination to actually start then preparing and upgrading our bodies into the next level, ready for what you want to achieve in 2024. You know, if you said, I want to go and run a marathon in 2024, you wouldn't just then walk into 2024 and run it. You would do preparation. And it's the same we're doing now, you know, with the energy alchemist part, realigning our energy system, becoming this visionary, being able to have clear vision and views of what we can be doing in the future, and starting to write that into some sort of strategy that we can then use. None of this is about goal setting, by the way. You know, this is just simply creating a vision and something we can follow. And then once we have the vision, it becomes our compass to guide us through what choices we make in 2024. And that's a much better way to do it than I'm going to achieve this by month 2 and this by month 3, and I'm going to lose weight. Or what? Work on your vision. How do you want to feel? A vision of how you want to feel, how amazing you want to feel, how graceful, how peaceful, how much of your creative energy you're sharing. Think of things like that. And that's what we want to focus on for 2024. So that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to leave you guys now. I won't see you until January now, when I do another energy reading in January. But I might be posting videos in between. So do subscribe and follow so that if I do post videos, you get notified. And I am making posts in between as well. So we've always got those as well. And if you do want to join me for Dancing with Energy, it's a 3-hour workshop and it's £88. Then just DM me and let me know that you're interested. So it's online, by the way, guys. I find sometimes like online really tests your ability to create your own energy. Sometimes you can kind of piggyback off the energy of a group. But when we're on our own, it really gets us working a bit harder. And that's good, because then we're not slacking and we really are building the energies and learning how to become energy alchemists, which is what we need for the quantum human. So I'll see you all in January. And as I say, subscribe and watch out for the videos I load up between now and then. Bye, guys.